Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Got Tran in the building. Tran, we are under, well under 60 days now
Yeah.
until kickoff,
I think it's like 54,
and we're getting back
53.
to
I
our
don't know.
normal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around that number by the time you guys see this video. But point is, it's that time of the year. We're gonna start cranking out our thoughts. Tran, we do this every year and we react to certain things and we see who got snubbed, who's getting love, who's underrated, who's overrated. So Tran and I are gonna take a look, just react to these all Big 12 lists, the all Big 12 media poll, and the all Big 12 preseason team, offense and defense, and just breaking everything down. And love to hear from you guys in the comments. So be sure to subscribe. Also, shout out to our sponsor, BUSR, busr.com/fanatic, the official sportsbook, the official betting partner of Fanatic Perspective. Check out busr.com/fanatic. Awesome customer service. Hit that promo code sports100FP. Let's get after it. Tran, we've been getting thirsty in the group chat. All right. Like we're ready for football. And it's been wild. We've been talking a lot of trash to people that are talking trash to us, and I'm sure many of you out there feeling the same way. How you doing, brother Tran?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Man, I can't wait to get into this. So let's get into it. So we'll start with the media poll. Did they get it right? Did they get it right, Trent? Just your initial look at this. Texas picked fourth. What does that tell you?
I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. You know why? Because you know me, it's like I can't really stand preseason polls because it really doesn't matter. You win, you win, you move up in the polls, and that's all that matters. This is the postseason polls, and now people won't have any gripe with they're just giving Texas that because of who they are and what they are. It's yeah. Let us be ranked preseason fourth, and I'd rather work our way up to the top. Baylor was the Big 12 champions last year. It's right for them to be up top. Oklahoma is always going to be near the top of the Big 12 conference as long as we're there. And Oklahoma State's bringing back a lot of players, so I could see why those why those three are ahead of Texas. The big shock to me is Kansas State, and I mean it's going to go into when we see the All Big 12 team. But I'm shocked that they're behind us at this point.
So I don't have a problem with the poll either. This tells me that Texas is no longer going to get the benefit of the doubt. It's Texas is, until further notice, is in a show me state in terms of perception with everyone else. Now, just because I agree with, I'm not going to say I agree, but I don't mind it. I'm with you there because I understand it. Like last year, I think we were picked to finish third. The year before, I believe we were picked to be either second or third. Like we've typically gotten that benefit of the doubt to at least be in the top three, if not top two. And so them picking us fourth, even after all the hype, Quinn Ewers coming in, all the transfer portal, all the positive things that we feel like have happened in our offseason, we went 5-7 last year after all that hype was there last season. So I totally don't mind people saying, I want to wait and see on Texas first. I think that is, after 12 years of what we've been through, that is a more than fair approach. However, I don't think Texas is going to finish fourth. And if Texas does finish fourth, that is not a good look for Steve Sarkisian and his staff, considering what they're trying to build. I'm not saying this is a Big 12 championship or bust type season. Not saying that at all. However, when we start looking at the construct of all of these teams and the holes, quite frankly, that all these teams have, at least on the surface this offseason, it's very realistic to think that Texas should at least be in the top three, if not in the Big 12 championship game at the end of the season. But I just want to make sure we have that delineation clear in terms of right now, and the media and the people voting on this. I don't mind them putting Texas where they put them.
Yeah, I mean, neither. Me neither. I think we're properly placed. I wouldn't even be upset if we were put fifth or sixth in these polls, just with the way that we finished the season last year. All that matters is, like I said, like I want to reiterate again, all that matters is the postseason polls.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And Texas will get the one thing about Texas very early on, especially when we start talking about AP polls and things of that sort that ultimately influence the playoff committee and those rankings. If Texas handles their business early in the season and going into conference play, they'll be put in a favorable position. Let's not get it twisted. The national media wants Texas to be good. They want to do everything in their power to boost them up. That helps everybody else. But I totally understand Texas being in a show me state right now. As for the other schools, a lot of guff from OU fans about we were disrespected. And if we go over to the polls, the player polls that we'll go to in a second, they only had one player make all Big 12, which was their punter. And they felt like they were disrespected. They're putting out all these graphics, but then they're picked to finish second in the conference. So how disrespected were you? And I think that speaks just to how wide open this conference is. Because, Trent, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many bad teams do you see here? Like, how many teams are you looking at? You're like, yo, they're going to be bad next year.
Maybe two. I could actually see Texas Tech being an okay team.
Me too.
I could also see West Virginia being an okay team.
Me too.
The question marks for me are TCU and Kansas. Kansas, I think, I think he's doing a good job on, the rebuild. That was a marquee win for that team against Texas.
Yeah.
And, are they going to build off of that? But I don't think that this year they're just going to shock the world and they're going to win 9 games or 8 games this season by any means necessary. I think TCU with the switching of the head coaches and all the movement that they've had, I could see them sliding as well. But honestly, I don't. Those are the only 2 teams that I could see that we could call bad in this league.
The only team that I can confidently say I think they're going to be bad next year, and this is where people can insert all their jokes because as a Texas fan is saying this, is Kansas. Like the whole Joey McGuire situation here and what we know that Tech also got out of the portal and some of the kids they have coming back. I think 9 through 5, 9 through 4, 9 through 3, 9 through 2. I mean, you can mix these teams up a lot. Like, I agree with you. I probably have TCU lower personally. Mm-hmm. And I know Trey's going to come after me for saying this. And
Iowa State lost a lot too. Iowa State lost
I don't know who's playing quarterback at Iowa State. Like that's a very real thing. They lost a lot as well. Kansas, a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are going to make the argument that Kansas State's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are making the argument that West Virginia is underrated. You have Graham Harrell coming into the conference. You have, if JT Daniels stays healthy, they have a 5-star arm there. Like it's very interesting when the discourse around the Big 12 has been, this is quote unquote a weak conference coming into this year because of the uncertainty. But you also looking at this, that's one way to look at it. But the other way to look at it is like, who's outright bad? And to me, I only can definitively say, like, I think there's just too much of a talent gap at Kansas right now.
Yeah.
On the surface. But moving over to the players. So we'll start on offense. And I think one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about, Tran, shout out to our boy Bijan Robinson for him and Deuce Vaughn being unanimous on the Big 12 team. But a lot of people, Tran, starting out with Spencer Sanders.
Yeah. This is the first year.
Big 12 quarterback.
Yeah, this is the first year that we in a long time that we could say that it's that position. I think postseason, all Big 12 team is wide open. I think they put Spencer Sanders in there just as the figurehead since he's been in the league so long, and he's
Agreed.
actually produced while he's in this league. Not saying that he's not going to be the name at the end of the season, because I wouldn't be shocked if he was, but I'm just saying it's wide open. The past couple of years, it's been Oklahoma quarterbacks that have just held that position. But there's a big question mark at the Oklahoma quarterback position right this year. I mean, we don't know what they're going to actually provide this year. So I mean, I see they put him there because he's the elder statesman in the Big 12.
So Dylan Gabriel, who I don't have on here, but Dylan Gabriel, who will be at quarterback for Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
was voted Big 12 Newcomer of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
So he did get some love and accolades from the Big 12. And Bijan Robinson was selected to be Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. But
I got
the
a
reason
question
why
about that. I got a quick question about, would Quinn Ewers be considered in that role as well?
I believe so, because
Okay.
he was he's in a similar boat where he was a transfer. I know where you're getting at,
Yeah.
where it's like the newcomer versus the freshman of the year,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't actually do preseason freshman of the year. They only do it postseason. So, but I do believe Quinn Ewers would be eligible for newcomer. Him, Isaiah Nayor, some of the other, Billingsley,
Yeah.
people that are coming into the conference would be eligible for that award.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
No problem. So, I want to touching on the Spencer Sanders thing. If Oklahoma State's able to get the ball into the end zone at the end of the Baylor game, the Big 12 championship game, where they're at the 1 yard line and they can't get it in 4 times and get stopped, I think people look at Spencer Sanders different, even despite the 4 interceptions he had in that game. I think the thing is like, because he couldn't get it done in that spot, and the way that they essentially lost the Big 12 championship game, where he just couldn't take care of the football despite, really all the effort to get back in it and all those things. He really has been the definition of Jekyll Hyde in college football. Like, even ourselves going against Oklahoma State over the years, we've had games against Spencer Sanders where he's gone for 400 plus yards, 100 yards rushing on the ground, and we've had games against Spencer Sanders where where we've really held him in check and been able to make him, force him to make questionable decisions. So
Mm-hmm.
he's getting the benefit of the doubt, to your point, just with all the new faces around the conference. But will he be here at the end of the season? I doubt it. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, despite losing Lincoln Riley and everything at Oklahoma, the familiarity with Jeff Lebby and the success he had at UCF, you have to think that he has a pretty decent floor to start with for OU's offense. Quinn Ewers, once he's officially won the job at Texas, being the trigger man for Steve Sarkisian, if you just combine the offensive production that Casey Thompson and Hudson Card put up, like just raw numbers, and Quinn Ewers, let's say he eclipses that definitely puts him in first team consideration, if not,
Yep.
sure thing, right? We're talking about a guy 30 touchdowns, 10 picks, like that type of thing. It's like, so Adrian Martinez at Kansas State, I think this Kansas State situation is kind of last chance you for him and the disappointment he was at Nebraska, but he could be in a much better situation. I personally, one of the reasons why I'm high on Baylor this year, I believe Baylor has upgraded at quarterback with Blake Shapen. Blake
Mm-hmm.
Shapen, to me, is just a much more accurate passer and a better fit for their offense than Gary Bohannon was. And they still won the conference last year. So these are all these guys that are in the mix for this quarterback position. JT Daniels as well. I mean, everybody, a lot of people have, quote unquote, their guy that will be taking a shot at this. I agree with you, Tran. It's really wide open. Are there any positions here that you're looking at where you're like, I would lobby for somebody else, or is there any Texas guys any other Texas guys, one of our own that you think could sneak on here by the end of the season?
Tight end. That's the
Let's
only.
get a Jatavian. Who, Jatavian or Billingsley? Or either or?
Either or. I mean, that's either or for me because I don't know. I mean, I've been reading a lot about Jatavian stepping up, and it seems like it's his position, starting position. But I think he just has all the tools to be something special. And with all the weapons that we've added over in the offseason, it seems like he's going to be this quarterback's best friend. So targets wise, I think tight end position for Texas is key. So, but that's the only other spot that I think would be able to slip in.
Let's say I think a lot of people with the way we've been recruiting at Texas, Tran, a lot of negative, I'm not going to say negative, just Texas haters are waiting for the other shoe to fall with us being a disappointment on the field and the decommits are going to happen. And we're, all this stuff, right? Like you guys are gassing up your class right now, blah, blah, blah. But we got to see how things play on the field. I think we've all been hearing that as Texas fans.
And that's fair. But
fair.
we're talking about offense right now, and even how bad we were last year, we were still the 18th ranked offense in the nation. So once Sark gets in his people, and he has to develop his people, top 10 or top 15 or bust, I'll say, because if you have a top 15 offense, you're a powerhouse in offense. So yes, it's completely fair to say, hey, prove it on the field. But guess what? With not his players in there, he did prove it on the field. So with these players, so we're looking at it we can look at it from that perspective as well.
Tran, what if everybody talks about it though from a standpoint from the vein of we're waiting for Texas to disappoint to validate our opinion.
Yeah.
But no one ever looks at it from the standpoint of what if Texas, what if they're ahead of schedule?
Well, you're telling me that people only want to be right with their evaluations? Is that what you're telling me?
Like what if Texas? What if because I in my mind I feel like just with everybody's age and the offensive line as well, this 2022 class we brought in my mind, I'm thinking 2023 is like kind of like the year where I'm really going to have very high expectations. Quinn Ewers should be settled by then. All of these things. All I'm saying is, what if they do have this turnaround where they are a juggernaut now on offense? Like no one ever asked that question. It's always, well, what happens when Texas disappoints? Instead of, well, what happens if Texas is actually ahead of schedule? Like, so this is something to consider here. So I love your pick at tight end. I think that's dope. I would love to see one of our offensive line, at least one of them, sneak on here. If it's one of my veteran guys like a Jake Majors or Junior Angelau, or even some of the young studs right off the bat, like a Devin Campbell.
I would love to see that too, but I just think they're just too young. The newbies, it's really hard to transfer over from hitting against high school kids to hitting against developed college kids. So
I agree, except for in the case of him. Even Banks, I think, is going to need some seasoning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's certain things just with how we're going to run our offense and what he can do, especially getting out in space, where it's so freakish. And again, cue up the part of the video in the comments where somebody's like, "There they go gassing up their people again." Hey, damn it, we're excited. We're about 50-something days away from football. Everybody should be excited.
Well, if they're going to say that, they need to rewind it and say, I was not gassing them up.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And OU fans, if you want to – my question to OU fans, so and maybe you got, all of you don't feel this way. I'm not going to refer to all of you in terms of, just a single monolith or whatever, but like I've been hearing from people saying, Marvin Mims got snubbed and should be in this group. My question to OU fans is, if you're putting Marvin Mims in, who are you taking off? Are you taking off Johnson? Are you taking off Worthy? Are you taking off Hutchinson? Please tell me in the comments if you feel like he was snubbed. Now, real quick, I want to move on to defense, and we'll wrap. So, Felix Anudike-Uzomah is projected to be Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He was the one that was just all over the place in terms of sacks and forced fumbles. Tran and I did a lot of prep on him our last game, and so not surprised. I was honestly well-deserved. Siaka Ika was literally an immovable object last year for Baylor. Nobody could get him out of the middle, and he's really one of the things that allows their guys around them on defense and what they're deploying over there to be so successful. You see Dylan Doyle back there. I'm really happy Overshown's getting some love. This is dope. I would love to, in the past couple years, Deshaun Jameson has been put on this list, and he hasn't been able to be on the postseason list. I would love for Overshown to finish on the postseason list here. I would love that, regardless of how he's utilized. Just ending his Texas career strong, as well as, we'll put the challenge out there. I know this defensive line group, in my opinion, is really, really good. I like Oliver from Oklahoma State. We know about Stills. Will McDonald had 10-plus sacks last year. I am putting out a challenge to Alfred Collins to be on this list, personally. I think he's going to have more opportunities to attack to get the stats he's going to need, because you do need stats to some degree to make these type of lists. But I'm putting out a challenge to Alfred Collins to join this group as well postseason.
What about Byron Murphy?
Same. I'm just saying my focus is on Collins right now because he's in year 3.
Yeah.
And he's the one with the NFL, literal NFL tools. Murph can, we don't need to wait on anybody. Murphy, challenge accepted. I'm just looking at the profile of the player and what we knew and what we've seen from him in terms of certain things that even certain guys in the NFL can't do in some of the range. I'm wanting to see it put all together and allow him to hunt. So that's why I'm kind of really, really wanting to see Alfred Collins finish here strong at the end of the season.
I agree. And I think the addition of Gary Patterson, we should see him or someone on the defensive line flourish. I know one of the questions that you're going to ask is, do you think that anyone was snubbed on Texas? And the answer is no. I mean, we're in the show me state, right? Is what you said earlier in the podcast. Is just this defense needs to show us something, because last year was they didn't show us much.
They were bad. They were really, really bad last year as a whole unit. So hopefully this is nowhere to go but up. And it's again, it speaks to how wide open the conference is. I mean, Oklahoma State has a couple guys on here. Kansas State has 3 guys on here.
I mean, 6 total.
Defense. But it's 6 total. Kansas State. So Kansas State has 6 guys total, which is the most. West Virginia, I think, has 4.
Yeah. And
they're picked. Where are they at in the thing?
I think it was 7.
5 and 8.
8. Okay.
And they have 4 people. Conference is all over the place. Big 12 Media Days start on Wednesday. It's going to be really interesting. Really, really interesting. We're taking Overshown, Bijan, Roshan Johnson, and Ovia Gofu there. And these teams and just the whole outlook as we went through that whole list and these polls and everything, it really should show you guys like there's not one, like we've seen years where I remember growing up, bro, you can co-sign this. It used to be like 80% Texas OU dudes. And then like Nebraska and like some other people filling in, like when we were both humming, right?
Yep.
And
random Colorado players.
I don't know why. Why not? They're calling to get back in the conference.
Yeah, no.
We can have a realignment conversation. Don't you think that's going to be a big topic though? Come Wednesday and Thursday at the media days about who they're going to let in.
Like how political are they going to really get? I mean, they can't really discuss exactly who they're going to let in. They're just going to say, "Hey, we're going to discuss all our options."
Yeah, true.
I mean, they can't legally actually do that because they're under contract with different conferences.
True.
So,
well, you guys hit me in the comments if you're a Texas fan or a fan of other teams about your thoughts on the poll. Is Texas ranked too low? Do you think that are you okay, like Tran and I are, with everybody else in the media and the world saying we want to see it first from Texas? Or are you willing right now off the bat to put them, first or second and say, hey, we're going to win the Big 12. Let's rock. We back. Like, where are you at? Where are you at? Let us know in the comment fanatic perspective. We're just clarifying that one more time. Tran, anything else you want to add? I've been on vacay. I don't even, my brothers came into town, so
same
it's good
here.
to be back on with you.
Same here.
You went up to
Colorado,
mountains, right?
Yeah, Colorado. Yeah, my son was excited. He got to meet Bijan at the airport, so he was super excited about that. So
there we go. Met his favorite Texas player too. That's awesome.
No, his favorite Texas player now is Caden Stearns. Like that's his favorite Texas player.
So. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we appreciate everybody so very much. It's good to be back. We're gonna have some more content rolling out, various things, lives, all that. So more to come. Shout out to the sponsor. Thank you very much. busr.com/fanatic. Hit that promo code sports100FP. Best customer service in the game. Reliability is important with your betting partners. It's a very intimate relationship that many of you are going to have out there. So you got to make sure you go with somebody that's trusted in the game. So I prefer busr.com/fanatic. Tran, appreciate you as always, brother. We'll be back with more. Guys, remember, horns always up. Peace.